I was in the Hullabaloo sandwich shop in the Memorial Student Center at Texas A&M University when the OJ verdict came down. We just all dropped our Reubens and BLTs and craned our necks up to the giant TV in the corner of the cafe. I say giant, but like in 1995 size, it was probably like a 27-inch screen. Everyone went quiet for a beat when not guilty was announced, and then murmuring and muttering, and holy shit, that dude was so guilty. How did this happen? Well, I guess if you're rich and famous, if you're an athlete slash actor, you can afford Johnny Cochran and F. Lee Bailey and all the best lawyers. The state prosecution didn't seem to stand a chance. It was really funny how much we knew about this trial. And I can't speak for that room or anyone other than myself, but I certainly felt disappointed that a clear murderer was not convicted, yet I also felt a little thrilled at the idea that he was free. Like the whole trial was a circus show. The country talked about it daily, spoofed it constantly, and we all knew there was no such thing as an untainted jury here. What a train wreck. It's the same part of my brain that enjoys it when an Olympic judge clearly grades on a bias for their fellow Slovakian gymnast or Norwegian figure skater. I hate that justice is broken, but I can't not rubberneck during a media shit show. The OJ trials were the culmination of the 1990s hyper-awareness of media and its effects on the public, from Tipper Gore putting labels on rap music to decrying violence in film to the debate over what art is considered pornographic or not. The self-aware meta-narrative found solid footing in the 90s, from Parker Lewis Can't Lose to The Adventures of Pete and Pete to Galaxy Quest. Movies and shows couldn't help but constantly break the fourth wall so that they could wink at the audience to let them know, hey, bud, yeah, this is fun, right? Of course, some of the meta films broke the fourth wall just to show the audience a funhouse mirror image of themselves. There was Natural Born Killers, To Die For, and Bob Roberts, all of which picked at the catalyzing effects of media on demagoguery. And of course, there was this week's film, Serial Mom, perhaps the least pointed of those media satires, but still, John Waters loves picking at the quaint trope of the upper middle class American suburban family unit. He's also interested in the human fascination with sex and with violence. But the man who brought us pink flamingos and hairspray clearly has a fetish for turning iconoclasts into icons. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What's your favorite casual swear word?
Ooh.
Like one that you would use often, not like fierce, like
it's one that I wish I use more in everyday life because it's so much fun to say. And that's horse shit. I don't know why. It's just there's something about it that is so like Foghorn Leghorn. If Foghorn Leghorn the cartoon were to swear.
Horse shit is good. I don't use that enough. That's really nice. I was going to say I use ape shit a lot, which is funny because it's another animal shit, but ape shit describes like things going haywire.
Yes, things going crazy.
Horse shit is like, this is a lie, right?
Yeah. There's like, I don't believe anything. That is pure horse shit. Horse shit.
Oh my God, that's really good. I thought of that just because this movie has one of my favorite lines in any movie we've seen for this show, which is when Chip says shit at the table and Beverly says, Chip, don't say that. You know, I don't like the brown word.
The brown word.
It's so good when I'm watching a movie by myself and I laugh out loud, like I heave laughter. So Cecil, once again, I failed to secure us a guest for this week's episode, but I did find a fellow podcaster, a cocktail aficionado, and a lover of spooky arcana. I found us a Julia Schifini. Hi, Julia.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hi, welcome.
I am so excited to be here. This is such a delight.
I'm excited for you to be here, too. You tell a lot of really great stories about urban legends, rural legends, folk horror, cool spooky tales on your podcast Spirits with Amanda. And I think this would be really great. And it's funny because of the rolls of the dice lead us to like true horror comedy. But I'm curious about your love of spooky things. Like, what is your horror story? Like, how did you get into watching horror movies?
You know what's really interesting? I was not a big horror fan as a kid. I liked spooky stuff. Like I liked vampires. I liked werewolves. I liked ghosts and stuff like that. But like the idea of the slasher movie from most of my childhood until like my mid-teens, I wasn't a big slasher person. Like when people were out there watching like Hostel and Saw, I was like, that's not for me really. But I'm like, if it's got a ghost in it, like if I can logically tell myself that these aren't real things that could hurt me, that made it easier for me to enjoy them. And then I started dating my now husband we're high school sweethearts, and
Oh,
he was huge into horror movies, like just a huge fan. He showed me like Blair Witch Project for the first time. His favorite horror movie is Halloween. He dresses up as Michael Myers in our front yard every year and scares all the little children and like chases people down the block. People love it. But like that was kind of my journey into becoming a real horror movie fan, was just like him showing me the things that he really loved. And then I kind of developed my own personal tastes outside of his in terms of horror. I got really into like more psychological horror and like the highbrow stuff, where he is more classic slasher. And we show each other things that we're like, ooh, I think you're going to really like this. And it's a real fun time, especially during Halloween season.
I love that notion of like it's similar to music, right? When somebody gets you into some other genre and you start, but then you start down your own path of that as well. It's funny, like the two people I spend a lot of time with in my life are Cecil and with Joseph Fink, my co-writer for Night Vale. And it's funny because Joseph leans way more like contemporary 21st century, like thoughtful, complex cinematic horror, and Cecil has led me down the path of like really loving like these like classic like practical effects slashers and really campy horror films and stuff. So it's really fun to sort of like figure out my own path through that. But I am leaning very campy in the horror that I like.
That's
that
fair.
I like to watch. Yeah.
you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, let's talk about Serial Mom.
Oh, Serial Mom.
Serial Mom.
God bless John Waters. I have been trying to like sneak a John Waters film into this podcast for so long, and I think you put this on our potential list, Cecil, for
I think so,
comedy and sadist, which is what we rolled. And I just what a delight to return to like 1990s meta humor and John Waters one-liners. So good.
Yeah, I'm a 90s baby. So I was born in 92. I missed this movie entirely. This is the first time I've ever seen this movie. I was really excited to like sit down and watch that. And I was going through John Waters's backlog because I'm like, that's a name I know, but how many of his films have I actually seen? I think it's only been Hairspray. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've kind of missed his whole like, filmography, but this was such a delight outside of Hairspray to be like, oh, this is really funny. This is really good. So now I'm going to seek out some more John Waters after this for sure.
I was in watching this movie, I kind of thought of him as like bizarro Stephen King. Because he and it's probably, I think there were so many artists of that, in the baby boomer generation that really got into like exploring suburban life in different ways. Tim Burton does that in Edward Scissorhands. But yeah, watching this movie, I'm like, this is so funny because it does feel like a Stephen King story, but just absolutely hilarious. Like it just takes a different turn. It's sort of like if you don't have the death at the beginning of Romeo and Juliet, the whole thing's probably a comedy. And and so I think John Waters just steers this comedy. All right, so we set up this movie with true story based on court testimony.
Oh my God, yes.
Is that true? I couldn't find out whether or not that was true. No, it's just bullshit. Okay, great.
Yeah, the 90s was so weird. Like, as you said in your intro, Jeffrey, like the 90s was the era where all of a sudden cable television had to just fill the air with stuff. And so this idea of like ripped from the headlines, court TV, true TV, that was like so flippin' huge in the 90s. And I love not only this, like these intro cards are like based on real headlines, but the fact that we get a timestamp throughout the entire film, like dinner is served at 6:30 on the dot every single night. But it really adds to that, like, this is totally a true story, you guys. No, really. At 9:30 a.m., the police arrive because we have this in our court document records.
It's honestly...
Go ahead. Sorry. No, please, Julia.
It's honestly so funny because like I am not a true crime girly at all, but I know a lot of people who are, and the fact that so many true crime documentaries or reenactments and stuff like that have that, and it's such a like not even like a product of the time because people are still doing that. So it's like it's not like we've learned anything in the 30 years since this movie came out.
Nope.
Still works.
It works.
We've got the what are we, the Sutcliffe, whatever,
The Sutphins.
the Sutphins family. This is Kathleen Turner as Beverly Sutphin, the June Cleaver-ish mom. Yeah.
Like golf claps all around.
So good.
Like there's literally no one else I can imagine that could go from like going to like honestly menacing with a fire poker in like the span of a moment, like from film noir to broad comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really impressive. There was one moment in a scene that we'll probably talk about in a moment where she has this stare as she's remembering a way someone slighted her. And I'm like, that's just the Kathy Bates in Misery stare. Like that's exactly the perfect encapsulation of that. And I was like, man, this is shockingly good. I didn't know what to expect seeing this movie. And I was like, whoa, we're doing like a master class here. All right.
We've got Eugene, the father, Sam Waterston, and fantastic. Ricky Lake as the daughter, Misty.
Amazing.
And Matthew Lillard as Chip.
Oh, young Matthew Lillard. His
Timeless.
first ever film role.
Oh, wow.
Was this really his first
Yeah,
ever
this
film
is
role?
it. That's and wild. Apparently, like, he was so new to this that, like, even his parents sort of took John Waters aside and said, "Hey, our kid really loves this. Do you think he's gonna make it?" And John Waters was like, "Yeah, I think so."
Yeah. Well, that's so funny. I didn't know this was his first film role, and I was watching this, and I'm like, this seems like such a precursor to his role in Scream as Stu Macher. Because it really is hitting very similar beats, and I'm wondering, I'm like, did Wes Craven see him in this and then cast him in Scream because of that?
It's got to be.
It would make so much sense.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it does feel like a prequel almost to Scream for Chip. This setup of this perfect family unit over breakfast. We've got the silly one-liners about, Chip saying like, "Did we have any donuts?" And Dad being like, "They're bad for your teeth, son." "Oh, you're always the dentist, Dad."
Oh man, I love it as like the dentist as the suburban masochist. The secret masochist in every suburban community.
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, my tooth hurts. Well, it's going to hurt even more once I start working on it."
Or it's like, "I'm going to make you suffer until Monday," like he does with that one guy.
Yeah.
Apparently in 1994, we hadn't invented any type of like numbing in dentistry.
Topical Novocaine or anything.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just has a strong conservative opinion on using painkillers during surgery.
Sure.
I don't know. That seems like something that I feel like is a line that got cut or something like that.
I like a more holistic approach to dentistry.
Just drill, baby, drill.
Yeah. We learned quickly that Beverly has, for all of her love of her family, she seems like a very good mom throughout this film.
The perfect mom.
The perfect mom. But she has, like all of us, she has little pet peeves. She has little rules she wishes people would follow. And one of the first things we learn in this is, I hate gum.
Oh my.
And I love her dislike of gum because it starts with, "Misty, you know how I hate gum." And then when the police show up later to ask about an obscene caller, she like tells the detective, like makes him spit it out in her hand.
"No gum in our house."
I know.
Such a power move onto that cop. And I'm just like, girl, absolutely. That's the way to do it.
In this house, we believe in science and not chewing gum at the dinner table.
And then we kind of set up we have the visual motif of like where we're going to go blood-wise in this movie, because we have her pursuing this fucking fly that is landing in the butter, on people's toasts, coffee cups, eggs, and she finally swats the shit out of it on the table. And that fly, I've never noticed that flies have red human blood, but this one certainly
They
did.
shouldn't. For context, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And they added a lot of like orangey kind of like snotty looking goo around it too. And I was like, ooh, the practical effect on that. I love it.
Mhm.
Apparently, the ASPCA demanded that they build a fake fly.
Oh,
And I actually
my
watched
God.
to the end, and like the very last thing where they're like, no animals were harmed. It actually says no flies were harmed in the making of this
Wow.
film.
Good job, John Waters. Roast him.
Okay, so the cops arrive for Law and Order, Friday, May 14th,
I know,
1993.
it's so Law and Order.
Yeah.
Don't.
8:11 a.m. Cops arrive. We've got the two detectives. The recurring theme of Detective Pike, who's like the lieutenant,
Mhm.
the younger man, making eyes at Misty. And then throughout this whole movie, every time you see him, he notices a girl somewhere and makes eyes at her.
But it's also the theme with Misty too, which
Yeah.
Oh,
feels
yeah.
very reminiscent of the oldest daughter in Poltergeist to me, where she's constantly like getting flirted with or getting hit on
Yeah.
or like coming home with hickeys and stuff like that. It seems very like a 3 steps forward of that.
Yeah. Apparently, their neighbor, Dottie, has been getting obscene phone calls and letters from someone, and they bring a letter to Beverly and her husband that is done ransom note style. They're like, does this look familiar to you? And she looks at it and it says, I'll get your pussy face.
And then the smiley face at the
And
bottom.
the smiley face.
So good. I laughed out loud when I saw that smiley face.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
girl.
Oh God, it's so good. It's so, what a funny note to send to somebody.
What a funny like phrase also to like
Yeah,
really commit to.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with her perceived crime of this person either. It's just like I'm gonna pick a statement to make about you, and that's all I'm gonna torture you with.
it's weird cussing is what it is.
Yeah.
It's very weird cussing. It's
Mhm.
cuss words are funny, especially if you can use them completely out of context.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna
You know
make
what,
myself
actually-
a shitting cup of coffee. We're like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. This actually, it's so funny you mentioned Stephen King. This whole setup reminds me of Needful Things, about the like, the town where everybody's kind of like tasked to drive somebody else mad.
Yes.
And so this, like, it has this sort of reverberation of, this sort of tight, perfect suburban community in which somebody is being tortured, somebody is torturing, but the person you're torturing doesn't necessarily match up with who's being tortured for whatever reason. This is much more straightforward, clearly, but it does kind of remind me of that. I can imagine this same setup in Needful Things.
I like it as a secret Santa of torture. That's
Yeah. Reach into the grab bag.
See who you get.
Also, can we just stop for a minute? Dottie Hinkle is probably the best name
Yes.
of any character since Duncan, Idaho. Like, Dottie Hinkle.
I kept hearing
So
that and I was
good.
like, isn't that a character from A League of Their Own or something? Like it sounds so
Oh, yeah.
familiar. It might be. It might be like 2 letters off of one of the A League of Their Own characters, but I'm just like, that is suburbia.
Yeah.
I was getting real like, this sounds like a character in a High and Lois comic
Yeah.
strip. Like, just, yeah, it's just so like 1950s sounding.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we get a shot of Beverly calling Dottie. Surprise,
Like, as soon as the
surprise.
cops leave.
Yes.
As soon as the cops leave.
Oh, the house is empty. Time to torture my neighbor.
Is this the cocksucker residence?
And her delight on her face as she's making this phone call too. I'm like, oh, this is great. This is how you get your sick twisted like kicks. I love that for you.
I've never been more in love with a movie character than this moment. Just the way she's so tickled. And then she calls back as like a phone company worker. And he's like, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Hinkle, to hear about whatever. And then she was like, but you're going to have to tell me what she said to you. And when she repeats the word pussy, she says, listen to your filthy mouth, you whore.
Oh my God. How does nobody know? How does no one know it's not Kathleen Turner? How does nobody know this?
I don't know.
I asked myself like towards the middle of the movie, I'm like, Has she done other murders at this point? Because she would have gotten caught years ago if we're being as obvious as we are now. You know what I mean? Like, did she just let loose and decide she didn't care? Or we'll see.
Yes. That's a good question. Yeah, I get the sense that these are going to be her first murders, that she's finally reached the tipping point where she feels good enough to go full American Psycho here. Well, let's start with the first murder because she goes to a parent-teacher meeting with Mr. Stubbins, who is Chip's math teacher. And to be fair to Kathleen Turner, Mr. Stubbins sucks.
He sucks real bad.
Yeah.
Because he says, you know, it's your son's sick obsession with these horror films. Is there a problem at home? Divorce? Alcohol abuse? You're doing something wrong. I'd recommend therapy.
Does he torture animals? I'm like,
yeah.
Dude, that's a big leap. That's a big leap.
Yeah. I just like anytime a teacher says you're clearly doing something wrong if your child is drawing this.
And it wasn't even that bad. It was just like a vampire guy. Like, it was not terrible. It wasn't like showing people being murdered. It was just like a scary dude with blood.
Yeah.
It was, you see in his room later, the thing that he drew is a poster on his wall. So like he was just doing the classic teenager thing where you draw an album cover or a sports team logo or whatever in your notes.
And it's the same movie that they're watching later on with his friend and the girlfriend there as well.
Yeah.
So like it's all tied together. It makes sense.
Blood Feast, which we covered for this show.
Yes,
which I was so excited to see Blood Feast make a return here.
I was delighted that it was a real movie that they chose. And they use like all real movies throughout the movie, which I think is very fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So she tails Mr. Stubbins after school. Lo and behold, he is popping a stick of juicy fruit in his mouth.
Putting that gum in his mouth. Man, this world is divided into two classes of people. There's people who chew gum and deserve to die, and everyone else.
And someone has to enforce it, you know?
That's right.
Yeah, take a sniff, pull it out. The taste is going to move you when you pop it in your mouth. She just floors it in her blue station wagon.
Oh, I love it.
Her Subaru crossed, whatever she's driving.
Just like Oldsmobile, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. And just runs him down in broad daylight. The only person who seems to see, though, is Luann Hodges, I think is her name, the stoner chick.
Oh my God. I love this reaction shot of just this character be like smoking a joint, you know, just having a morning, hanging out behind the high school, like sees the murder and like sees like the dude flipping over the car. And she's like, oh, like wide eyes. And she like throws the joint away like, oh man, I need to get off drugs. This is too much.
Like the drugs were what made her see this in the first place. I feel like if anything, that probably would help me process that trauma.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Chip and his horror movies. Chip has two other friends, Scotty and Birdie.
Shout out to Birdie. Love that name. Loved her whole vibe. That was me in high school for sure. You know.
Birdie's a great character. I really love Birdie as like a tertiary character. She's awesome.
Birdie has one of my favorite lines later that I'm sure we'll talk about, but like it's really good. She's such a cool character.
And she's like she's such a good like she loves the horror movies and but she's so kind of chill and down to earth about it. And then later when the actual murders start happening, like she displays like actual pathos, like it's bad in there, like not horror movie bad, but like this is wrong.
Yeah.
And I think for a movie like this that is going to kind of spoof or satire, you know, mass murder and mayhem, like it's important to have some moral compass.
Yeah.
Someone has to say, actually, this is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, they're watching Blood Feast. The Scott and Birdie are really interesting too, because Birdie loves horror movies. Scotty is disgusted by them, especially like a movie like Blood Feast, where they're just like pulling real butchered lamb's tongue covered in tomato paste out of, you know, people's fake chest cavities or whatever. And, you know, Scotty wants to vomit, but Scotty's obsession is with porn.
Yep.
So the sex obsessed and the violence obsessed is
Yeah.
a really interesting thing. set up
Welcome
here.
to America.
Fuck
Those
yeah.
are your two vices. Nothing else.
But Beverly comes in with as they're pulling the lamb's tongue out of this woman's mouth in Blood Feast on the TV. Mom comes in. Who wants cookies? I just baked them.
Oh my God.
And it gets like runs into Scotty, who's running out of the room to throw up as
Mhm.
well, which is, you know, kind of perfect.
He's like, oh, that one made me puke.
I loved this scene with her son because she turns the movie off, sends his friends home because her talk with his teacher was about his obsession with horror movies. So in some ways, she's sort of honoring some like thin line of truth. Like she was able to process this shitty teacher's concept
Yeah.
Mhm.
and say like, listen, are you focusing on your studies? I will do anything for you. I love you. Is that clear? And he's like, oh, gross, mom. Ugh, love. And she's like, oh, turn that movie back on. I want to watch the scene again. And it's like the heart-ripping scene.
Mhm, mhm.
But it's so sweet. It's like it really does get to the heart of like, this is a mom you would want. Like your teenage boy, you're like, ugh, emotions make me feel creepy. But it's such a sweet scene to show how much she truly loves her family.
Yeah, and that she's doing a lot of these murders for them
Yeah.
because of
Oh,
these,
yeah.
again, these
Yeah.
perceived slights.
And then a transition to the bloody meatloaf off of the bloody heart from
Oh
the
my
film.
God.
So good.
The fact
Again-
that she calls it the perfect meal and all it is like a meatloaf, a loaf of sliced white bread, and then the sesame steamed broccoli. I'm like, oh girl.
I
Oh,
know,
no.
right? And again, at dinner is at 6:30.
Mhm.
Exactly. On the dot.
Behold, the perfect meatloaf.
She also has a nice conversation at dinner with Misty because Misty talks about her boyfriend Carl, who
Well, maybe more of a friend.
Mhm. Carl's a
Carl kind of
dick.
slighting her.
Yeah. Well, and we learn that Carl truly is a dick, not just an awkward
Yeah.
boy, because Misty says, Carl told me he would take me to the whatever beach party if I lose 10 pounds.
Girl, no.
So I'm watching my weight. I'm like, woo, you got to get out of that relationship.
Do not
Yeah.
do that. Girl, no. You're so
But-
much better than that.
Yeah. But mom says you should, it's fine, whatever. If you want to lose weight, you should lose weight for yourself.
Mhm.
Like, I
Don't
want you
do
to
it
be
for a
happy
boy.
for you, not happy because of a boy. I'm like, great advice. This mother is so good, minus the killing thing.
Yeah, I know. My
She's such a good mom.
serial mom is great.
Serial mom's great.
But Luann Hodges makes the TV news when they find out that Mr. Stubbins was killed in the parking lot, and Luann Hodges is on the news talking about the murder.
This is just a me thing. I'm 31. There
Uh-huh.
and they say on the TV, Mr. Stubbins was 38 years old, and I said that man was 38 years old. 38? Like he was in his 50s. What are you talking about?
Mhm.
Absolutely devastating for me personally. I also really liked the line where the neighbor comes over and she's like, it's on the TV. And they're like, what channel? And she's like, all of them. I'm like, wow, that is the most 90s statement of this movie. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you only get 4. There's only 4. And if you count PBS.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which it probably wouldn't have been on, but who knows?
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine a few years ago got obsessed with getting old baseball cards, and he just bought a box of like 80s and 90s baseball cards at like a flea market, and I was hanging out at his house and we were just going through them and looking. It was like nothing worth anything, but it was just so funny. We started playing a game of like, look at the picture on the front of the baseball card, and I would see their birthday on the back, and I would say, guess the person's age, because we'd know the year the card came
no.
out. And like,
Oh, wow.
here's a 1990 card. And you would see a man on there, and my friend Bear would be like, it's he's got to be like 37, and we would look on the back, and he would be 23.
Ugh.
It's the haircuts.
Yeah.
It's the old-fashioned haircuts
Yeah.
Like
every
a lot
time.
of the facial hair too in that
Yeah.
time period. Like you just had like a lot of people with mustaches, and you're like, well, that just aged you 15 years.
Yeah. Absence of skincare, all this kind of thing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
No one knew how to moisturize back then.
No.
No.
So, then we have we also see as she and her husband go to bed that night, two things happen in the scene. One, she's got a book on bird watch because in the
That
morning they're
fucking
going to
bird
get up.
book.
We're going to watch birds tomorrow.
So good.
Just like she sits down, it's a giant book. And it just says birds. Just some casual reading, you know.
As someone who is a birder, I felt personally called out, so that's fine. I have said in the morning to my husband, I'm like, we got to watch the birds this morning. The Blue Jays are back, but the fact that, she's got all the serial killers inside the birding.
I know, like
so
taped
funny.
inside the bird watching book. And it's not only that, it's the way she literally does the heart fingers with her, like the heart motion with her fingers around Charlie Manson's face. Just like just a quick good night to Charlie. Mwah, 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 before I go to bed.
And then she leans over to do some sex with her husband, which is a very sweet scene and very funny.
Oh my God. Because
she's so loud in the most joyous way possible. Like, it just seems like a couple really enjoying their sex together, but you just see the kids like popping their heads out of their bedrooms being like, what the living shit.
It also felt like a power move to me, especially paired with the next morning, the way she wakes Chip up. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're doing this kind of a power move. Like, and that's fine. Like, if that's your kink, girl, great. I love that. Maybe like let your husband know that that's part of your kink is like a consent thing. But like, man, I was like, ooh, okay. I see how it goes.
I just love it that after like her first murder, her like first actual murder, she is so hot and horny.
Of course, naturally.
Yeah.
I get it.
That's kind of how I took it. She had such a good day, just filled with all kinds of chemicals running through her body to tell her to be excited. Yeah, Julia, the way she wakes up Chip the next morning.
Oh, right.
Because Eugene gets called away for Mr. Sterner's dental emergency.
Oh, right. Right.
And then
so
cops...
they can't do the birding, so she's already pissed.
Yeah.
And the cops are out talking to her other Rosemary.
Oh my God.
Going through her trash. So she goes in and like does full like Chip like right in his ear to wake him up. It's like a hammer gesture with her upper torso.
Physical comedy wise, great. Love it.
It's so good.
Like a jump scare, but like a jump laugh for me. Like
I
was so startled
totally.
by this. Yeah.
I was also thinking at this point, I'm looking at my notes right now, and this is where I wrote down, I'm like, she's like a middle-class suburbia Hannibal Lecter, because all of the killing that she does is based on these perceived slights or the idea that these people are being impolite or like wrong in society.
Yeah.
Like, that's just Hannibal Lecter's MO, just without the eating is what she's doing here, you know?
Yeah, like later when she's talking with the garbage men, she's like, for the good of the environment.
Yeah.
Somebody should take her out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what she's truly upset about. Not
lawful
anything
evil.
Else. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that about Silence of the Lambs too, because like Hannibal is like, he doesn't like Buffalo Bill because of how sloppy he is, like how just like it's crass what he does.
Right.
Like the idea of like, you know, like, oh, this oboe player played the wrong note in the symphony and somehow end up getting turned into pate.
Which is my favorite part about Hannibal Lecter. I'm like, he's just taking like politeness to an extreme.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so she the cops come in and they tell her like, listen, they've spotted a blue station wagon. There's only one blue station wagon registered to any parent at the school.
That seems
and it's
like
yours.
What to be untrue, but
yeah. Also, they find a copy of Premiere magazine in her on her coffee table, and it's got the P cut out of the Premiere magazine, like the letter that got sent. But she says, well, that's Rosemary's. You can tell by the subscription label, which I'm like, one, you threw your neighbor under the bus. Two, you also steal her magazines.
Yeah.
It's not like she's recycling them, Jeffrey.
I know. Right. She was doing some crafting.
Yeah.
And I also I just love how she deflects. She's like, gosh, you know, and it's like Premiere is a movie magazine. She's like, I just don't think the violence in movies these days is just like, she deflects so perfectly.
Couldn't possibly be me. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Really great.
these garbage men in this movie are so great because I looked this up. Their names are Gus and Sloppy.
She does say that. I did write that down. Like, Gus and Sloppy, my favorite characters in this movie, I think. Easily. The fact that they're so supportive of her later in the movie as well, like, as things are coming out, like, the only ones who are nice to her when they get to the church. Like, like
Oh, yeah.
Gus and Sloppy, I love you
Yep.
guys.
They get it. They get it.
We also have so she is gonna go over and like go fuck with Dottie and Beverly's gonna go fuck with Dottie and Rosemary, her two other neighbors she doesn't deep down like at all. But when she sneaks over to their house and peers in, they are watching Joan Rivers' talk show where today's topic is women who love men who mutilate.
Serial hags.
That's
Serial
it.
hags. I was like, oh, someone's gonna start using that as a thing. Someone has to start using that as a thing.
Oh God, I forgot how much I miss Joan Rivers. Just
I know.
just of a time,
Yeah.
and was really amazing. She was everywhere. And Beverly, well, Rosemary's not looking. Beverly's sitting with Dottie, and she like picks up this Fabergé egg and just smashes it on the floor, and it's like, Dottie, how could you?
Just right in front of her too, like, you know, just blatantly like making eye contact, smashes it on the floor.
Yeah.
Girl, power moves again.
Like, all she does is convince Dottie Hinkle that Dottie's insane.
Yes.
And it works.
Yeah. She's gaslighting the shit out of Dottie.
Yeah.
She also mentions the pussy willows that
Oh my God.
the flowers that Rosemary has, and she's like, "Oh, are those pussy willows?" Like she goes in
Dottie's
that
like,
gravel voice.
Wait, say that again. What?
It's truly so funny. Again, like the joy that she gets out of torturing Dottie is like genuinely amusing. Like her delight is reflected onto me as an audience member. I'm like, this is terrible, but also I'm so glad you're so happy.
I know, it's so wild to like imagine a movie in which, you know, like in the 90s, this idea that like serial killers could be like empathetic protagonists in something. It's quite ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, we hadn't really gotten into like the 2000s era of the problematic hero, right? Like the anti-hero, the Tony Soprano, Walter White type. So let's talk about the flea market.
Oh,
Misty has a booth there where she sells, just fun oddities and collectibles. She has a Pee Wee Herman doll she's selling, very 80s, like full package, like 18-inch, like really big.
Oh yeah,
Pee Wee Herman doll.
There was a point where Carl like makes a comment like, "Oh, that guy's weird," or like he's like creep or something like that. And I was like, I'm not gonna look it up, but I'm like, do I think this is pre or post the arrest?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question.
I think it was pre, honestly, but I could be wrong.
Really?
Let me see. Hold on. Let me check out Paul Reubens.
It seems like Paul Reubens and John Waters would have been friends. Like that seems that way. I don't want to make presumptions, but they seem like people who would run in the same circles.
Oh, for sure.
And so it would seem to me that he probably didn't do it post arrest. That he did it in a way to like as a nod to this delightfully weird man.
You know what? This is post.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Yeah. 1991 was the arrest, and this is 93, I believe. So
okay, yeah.
Or 94. But yeah, wild.
Wow. Sleuthing. Encyclopedia
I'm nothing
Brown.
if not a Wikipedia sleuth.
But Carl, who had said he couldn't take Misty out that day. So Misty, he's got other things, but Carl
would know that she would be there.
Right.
Yeah, that's again, there's so many like weird power moves that are being done in this movie, or Carl's just a big dummy and forgot that she would be there, which also seems on brand for his character.
Yeah,
but like rude regardless, Carl.
Yeah, just doesn't care.
Yeah.
And also the fact that he brings like Tracy Lords.
Yes.
Oh my God, Tracy Lords. Wow.
What a wild pull.
The scene with the Franklin mint. I don't know. Did anybody grow up in a house where like, you know, mom, grandma collected these sort of like Franklin mint collectibles.
Oh, because
I had
they did like the coins, they did like plates too, right? Like commemorative plates and
Yeah.
all of that. Okay, yeah.
I had no idea what that was. And I was like, I assume that's like a fancy brand, but I have no context for this otherwise.
But it was also like it was like suburban fancy in that like it would advertise on cable television. Like,
Okay.
you know, only 3 installments get you all the state quarters kind of
Oh.
thing, or you get this extra little egg. It's just so funny. And then when fucking Tracy Lords is like, Daddy, I gotta have this perfect Fabergé egg, this Franklin Mint egg.
For my
It's-
bedroom shelf too, which means he's been in her bedroom before and he knows what shelf he's talking
Yes.
about.
Yeah. It's also like so sexual.
Yes.
It's so sexual.
Which given her history, makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
Works
Yeah.
really well for the character.
It's perfect.
Mhm.
But Carl buys his girlfriend this Franklin Mint Fabergé egg, which was the one that Rosemary had been eyeing and trying to buy. And Rosemary, at that stand where the guy was selling that, like he wouldn't come down on the price for the egg. So she switches price tags on fire pokers to save like $6 to $3. Yes.
Girl, just haggle at that point. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a flea market girl. I know how to haggle. And like this lady can't like bring him down a couple of dollars. Come on.
But she buys a fire poker for $3. I get the sense she didn't even need a fire poker. She just wanted to take him for some money. And anyways, when Beverly realizes that Carl showed up with this other girl standing up her daughter, she's going to grab that fire poker and follow him to the men's restroom.
God.
Way too public of a place to do a murder.
Bad.
I know,
too
so
a place.
public.
Yes.
I also love the fact it's like it wouldn't be a John Waters film unless there was like a local pervert hanging out at the glory hole.
Marvin
in the
Pickles.
restroom.
Marvin Pickles.
Oh my God. And that name for that character.
Like there's always a
Jesus.
flasher. There's like, you know, there's gotta be some local pervert hanging out in the bathrooms.
Yeah. I mentioned the John Waters or this movie feeling very like anti-Stephen King. This movie is very R. Crumb, like like there's the perverseness of it, the comical perverseness and grotesqueries of people is really great. And Marvin Pickles feels like an R. Crumb character to me.
Yeah.
But he gets eyes on, he's an eyewitness that Beverly was there in the men's restroom with a fire poker.
And
because he's peeking through a glory hole.
I know, right? And it's like perfectly framed, and she's like got the crazy maniacal eyes going with he's like, oh, I gotta get out of here. There's a crazy lady with a fire poker.
So she charges at Carl is peeing at the urinal, and she just charges at him. Oh, I love it so much.
I seriously laughed out loud when she's got the liver on the end of the fire poker and he's trying to be like, get off. I'm like, how, one, relatable, and 2, hilarious. Truly funny.
It's also like she stabs him in like the lower back with a fire poker and somehow extracts his liver.
Makes no sense.
That's a good 8 inches away from wherever you just landed that poker.
And it's also like just one thrust and he's dead, which I love this. The idea of like sort of, it's the cartoonishness of it. Like, you know, you bop somebody on the head and they're like, they have little X's over their eyes level of cartoonery. They're like, oh, I killed them.
Yep, and that's it. It was done. No worries. Didn't take any time for him to bleed out or anything like that. He's just dead now.
But like it's so silly, and she even gets like a slip and, you know, she like slips on the blood, which actually becomes a plot point.
Yes, yeah, because now she's got the blood on her shoes, and then also make sure to flush the urinal on his face before she leaves the bathroom. I'm like, girl, so much common decency in your murders. I appreciate it.
So, of course, the flea market goes into a panic when they find the body. Misty is, of course, all broken up, and she tells her mom, like, that Carl was here and he was murdered in the bathroom. And her mom's like, I sold your Pee Wee Herman doll for $150.
That's a great price. Good job. That guy didn't try to haggle at all.
I know. I also like, it's such a stupid one-liner, but like the guy comes in, he's like kind of like sleazy, and he's wearing like a gray suit, and he's like, do you take New York cash?
She's like, yeah, I don't know what that means.
There's just like the weird little one-liners throughout. Like even the most one-line character has something unique and odd about them.
Such a moment for every single one of those.
Yeah. So also Rosemary, when in the chaos, you see her pick up her fire poker and she feels the blood and liver gristle on it or whatever.
Oh, liver gristle.
Oh. So Eugene, having been visited by the cops, and they're questioning him about his wife's obsession with serial killers because they found all these books in her garbage of serial killers.
Oh, yeah.
He goes home and finds her bird book and
my God.
collections of serial killer memorabilia. And then he finds a cassette tape, which is amazing.
Can I very quickly, before we get to the cassette tape?
Yes.
The fact that, so she's got all these articles cut out of serial killers and murders and stuff like that. And then there's just like a nice Christmas card in there. And I'm like, so suburban mom.
Yeah.
That's like such an attention to detail. Like whoever did that in the props department, shout out. I loved it. It was so funny.
That's so good.
Man. And Sam Waterston, who is this like Broadway multiple Tony Award, like the most deadpan, straight-laced, plays it so perfectly.
I wrote down in my notes, I was like, I hope that if I'm a serial killer, my husband supports me as much as Sam Waterston.
Yes. I know, right? Like
he's
when
so supportive.
Especially like when, he's like, your mom is deeply troubled and needs a lot of love and support.
Yeah. Or like even like before their crazy sex scene, he's like, you bring me so much peace. I'm so glad you're my wife. I'm like, these are such nice things to say to someone.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Like this is a healthy relationship besides the murder.
Besides the murder.
Yeah.
And the menace.
But she's not menacing her family for the most part, so that's fine.
Yeah.
That tape made me laugh so much because it's so clearly John Waters' voice.
It's just John Waters being Ted Bundy. It's so funny.
And it reminded me of Will Ferrell had a Ted Kaczynski impersonation that he did on Saturday Night Live that I think was so funny because he was dressed with the wild hair and he was like in a prison orange jumpsuit. But I just remember his line being like, "Hey, I'm Ted Kaczynski. How the hell are you?" And it's so funny. And to hear John Waters be like, "Hey, Beverly, it's me, Ted Bundy. It's only a couple nights till it's so good to hear your voice." And just, it's so good.
Just so chatty.
So funny.
The whole fucking family knows now. So this tense dinner scene where they're all staring at mom because they know Carl's dead.
There's also this moment too where the daughter goes to the video store to talk to her brother and is like, "Hey, I think mom's a serial killer." And I'm like, why would you have that conversation in front of so many strangers?
Yes. Yeah, I know,
like a terrible idea. Like now these people know what's up, and that should be a family-only discussion.
Yep.
I also love like the video store as the like hub of all social activity because
especially
that was such a 90s thing. That was real.
My biggest 90s and 2000s nostalgia is I miss going to Blockbuster for date night so much.
Yeah.
So much. It's just not the same anymore. I wanted to browse and base it solely off of the video cassette that I'm seeing,
Yeah.
My friends and I, we would do this thing where we had like 2 minutes. Everybody go pick one movie and you have 2 minutes, just make a decision. And then we would all bring back our choices and then we would decide out of those which one we would actually watch. It was like the best night of the week.
Well, that's also like going back to what my origins in horror were. Like my early dates with my husband were like, we would go to the video store, we'd pick out a bunch of movies. He would almost exclusively pick out horror movies and then we would watch them together. So like it has a special nostalgia in my heart, certainly.
It's like the browsing was just as much a part of the ritual as the movie watching.
Totally. Yeah. I loved the browsing almost more than the movies that I ended up watching. Yeah.
Like you could spend a good hour in the store just going through every section and being like, "Ooh, I've never heard of that one before," and just like kind of trying to decide via that.
Yeah, the on-demandness of the digital world, it just kind of eradicated a lot of that.
Yeah.
The discovery factor too. Like it's like going to a bookstore without knowing what you want now and like being able to peruse and decide on something.
Yeah, there's no immediate rating either is the other thing. So you just have to be like, is this cover art good? Do I like these stars? Does the description on the back excite me? But there's no like, if I go on Letterboxd or Just Watch or just go to the streaming platform itself, I immediately see a rating for
and you're like, oh, this
movie.
is just okay.
Oh my God. The movie we watched last week was literally a 1-star rating on Amazon or whatever the hell I watched it on. And I'm watching it with my boyfriend. He's like, 1 star, huh? All right, here we go.
I have a running joke with my husband and his side of the family because they just love like weird, obscure 80s and 90s movies. And so many of the ones that they have shown me that is like such nostalgia for them. I'm like halfway through the movie, I'm pulling up. I'm like, all right, this has a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. I just want to point that out to everyone real quick. Like Nothing But Trouble. Jake's like, you're gonna love this movie. I'm like, what the fuck is this movie? Why am I watching this?
It's like a friend of mine once said the only movies worth watching are 1-star movies and 5-star movies. Everything else is just
filler,
mediocrity.
So at dinner, Misty makes another sort of mistake besides just publicly saying, I think our mom's a serial killer at the Blockbuster. At dinner, she's like, instead of saying, Mom, we're wondering if you're the killer, she throws it onto Scotty. And it's like, Scotty thinks you're the killer. Well, Scotty sure is nosy for a boy who loves his pornography so much. And
it
then
wasn't even the pornography. She's like, for someone who doesn't buckle his seatbelt.
Oh my God.
Because she doesn't even know about the porn. It's just or she does kind of know about the porn because she's seen the magazines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, that's so funny that that's what she's harping on. Not his porn obsession, but the fact that he doesn't buckle his seatbelt.
Yes. And she's like, well, you know what? I'll be right back.
Girl. You're not even being subtle at this point. Like, what's up?
It's like a shot of the three of them listening in silence as the car pulls out of the driveway. They sit there for a minute. Like Ricky Lake gets up and there's a sign that's like, gone to the store, love Mom. And she's like, Mom's gone. Like, no shit, Mom's gone.
What do you think all that noise was? Please.
Yeah. So she's driving. This is such a great misdirect because she's driving off, presumably to go to Scotty's house to kill him for accusing her of being the murderer. But she actually is going someplace else entirely. She's going to the Sterner's house.
Listening to Barry Manilow the entire way.
Yes.
And just like skittering off as a cop chases her as well, because they posted someone outside of her house at this point, and like she's cutting across lawns while singing, and like I'm like, you're having a great time with this murder spree, and to know that like you're appreciating it.
It's it's this moment that it's so funny. Like when you see a movie like loads of times, you appreciate the weirdest things. For me, I was like, man, the stunt drivers in this are amazing.
Like shockingly good for like a movie that doesn't have a lot. It has a decent amount of chase scenes, but not a lot of chase scenes. It's not a Fast and Furious movie,
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're taking that van or, this Oldsmobile at like 80 miles an hour around some residential street.
She gets to the Sterner's house and is watching them eat dinner. And this is so disgusting because it's just close-ups on their mouths, like smacking on chicken bone.
Just chicken skin. Oh, man. Like, I know it tastes good, but like it is one of the grossest things to get over. You're like these little chicken globs.
Well, also kind of talking about the misdirect of we think she's going to Scotty's, but she's actually going to the Sterners. You hear the noise of them eating before you see them eating and before you know whose house she's at. And I'm like, are we really going to go there where like we're hearing him like masturbate? But then they cut to them eating the chicken. I'm like, wow, that's a good misdirect.
It's so good.
What a good use of sound.
Because Scotty is at his house alone, putting on Busty Vixen's 18.
Yeah.
and he is just, I've never seen someone so excited to just jerk it. You know,
Yeah.
I just like, he was making a night of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is some good me time. I mean, listen, it's a lot of work, but you do what you got to do, Scotty. And he was just so happy to have the house to himself, to curl up with a blanket and instead of a good book, just a good fap fest.
I know. I think it's so funny. Like, who masturbates alone with a blanket over them?
I think it's a director who does not want to show that guy
Yeah. Oh, clearly.
whole hog.
Yeah. Clearly.
Whole hog. But yeah, you're right, Julie. Like he does this just in the same way we did the transition from Blood Feast Heart to the meatloaf. We do the sound of him about to he puts his hand under the blanket, and then we hear the sound of fap, 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 fap,
Oh my God.
smack, and then we see the Sterners eating chicken, and Beverly's appalled because she starts thinking about birds she loves.
And also that they're just being disgusting with the way they're eating as well. So
Yes.
it's a 2 birds with 1 stone situation.
That's right. Perfect.
Yeah.
But of course, once we learn they're not at the same house, the Sutphins have gone to Scotty's, and they bust in and they hear him just screaming, moaning.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, he's being murdered. The cops are there too, because they followed the Sutphins.
Everyone busts in.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, your worst nightmare.
Truly.
Like, I heard someone masturbating in here.
Or a fetish to be caught masturbating by a cop who draws a gun on you.
I know, right?
Freeze.
And then immediately hides under the blanket too.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
like you did the opposite of what that cop just told you. So
Uh-huh. But this is where we get the iconic scissor scene with
Yes.
Betty Sterner going into her closet. The misdirective, like, there's a box moving around in the closet. She's like, honey, I
know.
think we have mice. He's like, no, we just had the exterminator. And then she moves the clothes aside, and there is Beverly with a pair of Rosemary's scissors, I think.
Yeah.
And also there's a rat, which I was like,
And
all right, well,
I know.
they're
But it's
both
like
there.
she gets stabbed, but she doesn't start screaming until the mouse is just like just scampering about her foot. But that's what makes her scream.
Yes.
Not the stabbing.
No.
Definitely the mouse, which is
Yeah.
again very classic kind of like suburbia, not feminism obviously, but like femininity.
Yes.
Like, eek a mouse. Yes.
Mhm.
We've talked about the line of like, don't put a hat on a hat, especially when it comes to acting, right? Like, you don't need to like keep upping everything. Like, you know, you pick one thing, that's your hat, they're good to go. But in comedy, it's so good to put a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat. And this rat scene is a hat on a hat, and I fucking loved it.
Also, the fact that she's getting ready to like get on. The fact that she's getting ready to get it on with her husband while Wheel of Fortune is happening is
Yes.
very funny to me.
Honey, Wheel of Fortune is on.
She's putting on her negligee or whatever. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, she takes out the like. I'm not even sure. There was definitely lube and then something else.
I
and then
know,
I was like,
right?
It's like, all right. I see where you're going, lady.
So Mr. Sterner comes upstairs, sees his dead wife. She throws scissors at him a couple times, keeps missing, and as he runs out of the house, she drops a window AC unit on his head.
I love
So
it.
good. Such timing.
Maybe my worst fear in New York City is getting crushed by a window unit AC.
Oh, yeah.
Mine's always the the glass, not the glass. The ice that like comes off of buildings during the winter in New York City.
Yeah.
Getting just pummeled by that is one of my worst fears.
Yeah, of course. It's Sunday, and we're off to church. And there is a line of visibly a dozen cop cars in front of our house.
I wrote in my notes, I said something police resources.
Yeah.
So when we say defund the police, what we mean is
there should be 2 cars there maximum.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do not need that many people to arrest this woman.
But it's so reminiscent of the O.J. Simpson, like the sort of slow parade of like, we have the suspect under, like eyes on the suspect, and we're gonna like slowly drive wherever they're going. Oh, and it's to church.
Yes. The crazy thing about this was the scene when this line of cop cars is doing a slow chase of her to church. The O.J. Simpson slow chase was June of 94.
Oh,
So
wow.
this movie was already
He
wrapped.
dates it.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And so that O.J. Simpson thing was such an important moment just in media, in our understanding of our relationship to media, to see. And it's
Yeah.
not like we had never seen a live police chase on television before, or a slow chase or something, but just this like full-on celebrity being tailed.
Yeah.
Villain celebrity being tailed by cops is crazy that this happened the same year that the OJ chase happened, and a year before the OJ trial happened.
Yeah.
Too. Although I think we had already had the Menendez brothers trial, which I think for me was the first like big celebrity, like everyone's talking about this trial sort of thing.
But it wasn't actual celebrities too.
Yes.
So
they
like,
became
it's
celebrities because they were on
Mhm.
trial. Okay, so they can't arrest her till they have confirmation of fingerprints from the DA, so they've just got to go sit in the church. As with all church, we are going through the motions of being a nice civil community.
Oh my God. Can we talk about the sermon, which is capital punishment
It's
and
good.
you?
Very quickly though, can we just go right back to when they're driving and the police are following them? It has my favorite line of all time,
yes.
which was Sam Waterston going, "Don't worry, I've read all about this, honey. Is it menopause?"
Oh my God, I know, right?
Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. What?
And she just
Sir,
laughs.
you're
She's
a
like, "Oh,
doctor.
you,
Yes.
You are a
silly,
full doctor."
silly men."
Oh my God.
Oh, God
And then
almighty.
they also just announce her name and address as a suspect
I
on the
know,
radio.
right?
And I'm like, they haven't even arrested her yet. Are
Yeah.
you allowed to do that back then?
Oh, it's so crazy. Even local papers, like today, people will print addresses of news people who are in the news. It's crazy to me that like the doxing tradition has been around forever.
Yeah.
Like I understand
so
it. Like
weird.
once the person's been arrested, like I'm on Long Island, so everyone was just talking about the serial killer, the Gilgo Beach serial killer who they finally arrested after like 15 years. And so like, his house is on TV, everyone knows his address now.
Yeah.
But that's after they arrested him.
Yeah.
They didn't print his name and address in the paper until after the police had him in custody.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wow.
Well-
Also, they claim that she's Baltimore's first serial killer. And I'm like, that cannot be true. Simply couldn't be. Anyway, the church.
We're at the church. Everyone is muttering and staring.
I know.
Birdie's
Except-
parents won't let her go talk to you. Can't talk to Chip, Just so sad. But meanwhile, Gus and Sloppy are like, "What's
Gus and
up, lady?"
Sloppy. That's my
Hey.
girl. Sup? They're my favorite, like, just supporters of her. It's
Yes. And then there's Howell, the photographer from the news,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
taking pictures of the family.
Another flirt for Misty.
Oh my God, so adorable. I love Ricky Lake getting these like not hunky, just
90s hunky, though.
90s hunky,
yeah.
like Tiger Beat hunky boys in this and Hairspray and all that. Yeah, it's just funny. It's great. But she's so flirty with the photographer,
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
who's like basically at this point like a paparazzo.
He's the only one there.
Well, he's
with-
the first. Well, he's the first one to actually confront Kathleen Turner and say, "Are you serial mom?"
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Coined
kind of
it, if
enter the next act of the film, which is serial mom, the celebrity.
Mhm.
Yes. The pastor, by the way, starts his sermon going back to
Oh
that
my
with,
God.
"Jesus said nothing about the death penalty when he was hanging on the cross, now did he?"
And wouldn't
So
that
if
be
it
the
was
time
okay
to
with him-
comment on
Yes,
it?
Yeah, I
wouldn't
know,
that
right?
be?
So let's just do the thing.
Let's just do it, right, Christians?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Hilarious choice of how to create a distraction to
Oh
sneak
my
out.
God. This
He
is so.
sneezed on a baby.
Like full glob of snot,
Yeah.
like gravy being flicked from a spoon into the
I think they
Spady's
reused
face.
whatever they used for the fly in the first scene of the movie.
But it like mass pandemonium erupts.
that reaction made no sense to
No.
me.
No.
None
None.
at all. But it works for the movie, you
Yeah.
know, so I can't complain.
Gus and or Sloppy, one of them lands a punch on one of the cops trying
Yeah.
to get to her, which I'm like,
Hell
hell
yeah,
yeah.
dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Birdie and Chip
Yes.
get Beverly out of there and then take Scotty's convertible. I don't know
Bitchin'
what kind of car this is.
Camaro,
Yeah,
whatever.
bitchin', yeah,
Great
fucking kick-ass Pontiac he's got. And they take her to the video store and put her in the back room to hide her.
Birdie's got a great one-liner too as they're leaving the church, which is "You're bigger than Freddie and Jason now, only you're a real person."
I know, right?
Adorable. Again, like this kind of idea of like, oh, I'm really into this stuff because I like the horror movies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hasn't had that realization yet that this is real life.
Yeah.
And it's also the fact that it's a fictional character talking about the reality of the fiction.
Yes.
Like
Very
it's
Wes Craven.
Uh-huh.
it is, and it's it goes back to the idea of putting up the sign saying totally based on true headlines when it's in fact not at all.
No.
Not even a little bit. No.
Okay, let's talk about Mrs. Jensen,
Oh,
who's
God,
renting
Mrs. Jensen.
Annie
Oh my god!
and returning Ghost Dad. Okay. Okay.
Now that's a movie I have no context for. And then they're like, I love those Bill Cosbys. I'm like, what? What's
Bill
up?
Cosby did a movie in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, where this is going to blow your mind, where he was a dad, but he was also a ghost.
That's it.
Sorry to spoil it for you.
No, I love the premise. It's
Turns
great.
out he's a dad and a ghost.
Wow.
But
We were real geniuses in the 90s and late 80s, huh?
Oh yeah.
We nailed it.
But it's so it's this idea of like monolith society. They're like this is what's good. Annie, Ghost Dad, Barry Manilow, bird watching, like this is what is acceptable. Recycling. And then anything outside of that is like tantamount to insanity.
Pee Wee Herman is a weird guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're either in the club or you're outside of the club.
Yeah. So Mrs. Jensen throws a fit when told that she has to pay $1 rewind fee and shouts, "You son of a psycho," to Chip. And they realize their mom is gone because they know she's gone for revenge against Mrs. Jensen.
Mrs. Jensen's living an interesting life.
I know, right?
A full lamb roast just for a sandwich.
I know, for like she like peels off like one little strip of that thing. I was like, what the
Also,
wow.
with mint jelly on the sandwich.
Mhm.
I was like, girl. And then having the dog lick her feet and singing along to Annie. I'm like, ma'am, what is your life?
That's so wild. Like,
Truly.
get up in mommy's toes.
Get them real wet, I think she
Get 'em
said. I'm like,
real wet.
She's the most John Waters character.
Yeah.
We fully watched a guy watch porn, and that was more like kind of sexually deviant in my mind.
Yeah. This is more like disturbing to watch than
True fetish.
Scotty's.
True fetishism.
Yeah.
But listen, watching Kathleen Turner take the knife, then decide no. And what makes it so funny is the fact that Scotty is watching it, and like just the reactions of like, oh, thank God, she decides not to murder her, and like she goes back and picks up the lamb. Come on,
and then beating her to death with the lamb to the beat of "The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow" is, again, I don't know if it's a Hannibal Lecter homage, but it sure feels like one. So I'm like, what is this? I don't know.
Man, it's so good. And also, like, to bring it back to other 90s things too, like there's another movie in 1994 is Pulp Fiction, which has the scene of Bruce Willis deciding baseball bat, no chainsaw, no sword.
And finding the most outlandish or like the perfect murder weapon. So good.
Always peak comedy. Always peak comedy.
So she bludgeons Mrs. Jensen and just shouts, "Rewind!"
I know, right? Like on the blood spattered TV with the opening of Annie rewinding. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. So she sees Scotty seeing her and goes on the chase.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets away just barely in time in his car, and she screams, "Wear your seatbelt, it's the law."
I know, right?
Then
I love that she just goes up to a random stranger, commandeers his van with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see
Sir,
that.
you could have just pulled away.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's not a gun, let's be honest. I wanted to go back to Chip and Birdie seeing the result of the murder, but not the actual murder itself. And this is the line that like really hones it in for Birdie for me, which is she sees the murder scene and she goes, "I saw the blood and it was brown. It wasn't red like in the movies." And like that's kind of the turning point for her. I love that as a character arc. Like I almost wish they had explored that more in the last half of the movie, but I really liked that as a like commentary, because like this has been very funny of a movie so far, but that's the one moment where like the reality of it kind of strikes true to me. And I really like that was included.
I'm a big believer in levity and gravity, like that you know, even for the most wild comedy, you have to like ground a couple of things into the earth. And that's one of those moments where like that's one of the it's a tent post, right? It's just you need to secure this a little bit, and it really does. So they Chip and Birdie find Dad and Misty and get in their car, and meanwhile they see Mom drive by in this carjacked van, which I just noted on IMDb trivia or whatever that Kathleen Turner in the shooting of the scene drives by, and then she added the wave.
Yeah, she just waves. She like just smiling and waving.
John Waters did not know she did that until they screened the movie, and it delighted him so much.
That's so good.
So Scotty ends up going to Hammerjacks, the metal club.
Okay, sure. I mean, honestly, if you're going to escape a serial killer, go to a densely populated area.
Yeah.
It's either that or the mall, you know.
It feels like a real commentary about the like metal scene and like kids these days.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
Well, it's a Sunday afternoon, roughly
I know, right?
2:00 on a Sunday, and fucking Camel Lips is doing a matinee fucking mosh thrashing show.
They are packed.
Can we talk about the pants that they're all wearing?
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
The fact that it's like the female equivalent of a cod piece on all of the pants that they're wearing is so funny for me.
It's a moose knuckle.
Like
it's a camel lip. Yeah.
I had to look at the like I rewound it a couple times and be like, are they all wearing that? Is it just the lead singer? No, they're all wearing it. Even the drummer.
They're all wearing them.
Even the drummer.
Yep.
This is a band that I was aware of in the 90s. This is L7.
Oh, gotcha.
They completely passed me by, so I was listening to a little bit of their stuff yesterday afternoon. I was like, this is pretty great, because it's very hard rock 90s sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're still making music too, I think. I think
you're
touring.
Right. Yeah. So, well, unfortunately for Scotty, the most public place is not the best place, because again, we're all cheering for Serial Mom because she's the celebrity. Scotty gets lifted up by the pit and crowd surfs all the way to the stage. He gets hit in the gut with a guitar by one of the band members, and then Serial Mom like cuts a rope, drops a lighting fixture onto him. I do not know how you survive that, actually. Those fucking things are heavy and sharp.
Yeah.
And then lights him on fire
with some hairspray and a lighter.
Yep.
Oh, I wrote in my notes, I said, imagine your dying words are, "I'll wear my seatbelt."
Yeah.
The lead singer like takes a chug of whiskey and then like spits it on him, lighting him more on fire.
I'm like, ma'am, by doing that, I think you just became an accessory to murder, but we're not going to touch on it, I'm sure. No one in this audience is going to like rat on you, so you're probably fine.
What's like each time Scotty has something horrible done to him, the crowd cheers.
Yes.
As if it's part of the show.
Again,
so
right.
it's like it's
satire.
It's
Yeah.
so satire.
And the band just keeps playing. Like the
Uh-huh.
band is not going to stop for this
Nope.
murder that's happening on their stage. They're going to participate in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wild.
I like Chip's line because the family shows up at the club to come in, and Chip tells his dad, "Dad, just try to look cool. It's Hammerjacks."
I know, right?
So
Oh man.
the police do arrest her, and then we see her on a prison bus, and she's got
Yep.
all the ladies singing "Found a peanut, found a peanut,
Right.
found a peanut just now."
Because she's not going to stop having a good time just because she's
No.
arrested.
No. This is all part of her master plan, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so it's our final act, and we are at the courtroom drama.
I love a court trial. It's
Mhm.
so dramatic.
I both wasn't sure they were going to get to a trial despite the opening credits, basically, and also surprised how long it took them to get to a trial. It was
Yeah.
both at the same time.
So I want to unsung heroes in movies. I want to shout out to the man who plays the DA, because he is the perfect straight man. Like just
Yeah.
he is just doing his job. He's not overacting. He is playing like he is, and just got a one-off part in Law and Order, right? Like
Yeah.
Perry Mason, whatever. So he's laying out his case. Like, it's very clear. She's a monster. She did this. We have this, and we did this, and that's what it is. And meanwhile, her defense attorney gets up and starts to speak, and she's like, psst, psst, and she writes her defense attorney a note, and it's like, juror number 8 is wearing white shoes after Labor Day.
Do you guys know who juror number 8 is?
Yes.
No.
It's Patty Hearst.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right. Oh my God.
Wild. A
Yeah.
wild get for that. Truly, like, you talk about stunt casting.
Yeah.
That is absolutely buck wild.
Yeah.
Well, because the whole thing is like John Waters really was like obsessed with serial killers and went to all these trials and became friends with a lot of these people.
Yeah. And you can tell by the commentary of all the people at the trial too, being like, "Oh, when I was at that Kennedy trial,
I
like
know,
that was
right?
amazing."
Like, oh,
And
I
then,
wish
you
they'd
were
had
at
this.
Hinckley,
Yeah.
weren't you? And
Yeah.
yeah, I was at Hinckley.
There's a brief moment where there's a woman out in that conversation that I swore was Leona Helmsley. But looking it up, I can't find anything, and I can't imagine John Waters putting
No.
that absolute monster in his picture.
Fair.
But her defense attorney's like, she's crazy. Like, she's super
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
She did all of this, and she's a murderer. And she's like, Your Honor, I'd like to fire my attorney and defend myself. I am not guilty. And
Well,
then
I
it's
mean-
oh, sorry, go ahead,
No.
Julia.
I mean, she's been following all of these serial killers and trials and stuff like that for so long that she does feel very confident that she could, game
Yeah.
the legal system.
Yeah.
In the way that she is kind of delusional, it makes sense that she feels confident that she could do this.
Yeah. It's a series of scenes where she is essentially just breaking down every witness. Dottie comes up. She's like, "Do you drink,
Oh,
Dottie?"
Dottie.
No, I don't. And,
So you're saying you weren't drunk when you received that phone call?
yeah, or that you didn't. You're saying that when I saw you at Rosemary's house, you weren't drinking. Well, I had a beer, so you admit you lied about drinking. Well, drinking and having a beer are different things. It breaks her down to be like, "Fuck you, you whore!" And
Oh my God.
Dottie gets arrested for contempt. The
She
kids are
drags a lot of these people to the brink
Yeah.
very quickly. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're in a courtroom, and especially the cop. Like, I get the like evidence that she chose to use against the cop, but I'm like, at the same time, sir, you have been on trial so many times. You should keep your chill a little bit more
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and she gets Rosemary on not recycling. The jury is like, everyone
Oh
is
my
gasping.
God. I know. I love it. Like, even though she's like an eyewitness to this murder, finds the, she's like, I found she had blood on her shoes. The fact that she doesn't recycle
Discredited
negates
immediately.
any credibility as a witness.
Yep.
The
Marv-
90s.
Marvin Pickles is called to the
Oh
stand
my
because he
God,
was
that
a
scene is
witness.
so uncomfy.
And she slides down in her chair and starts doing, well, she starts to do the Sharon Stone leg cross thing from Basic Instinct, but actually she's doing like the chicken with her legs. She's just flapping her thighs back and forth.
And Pickles is getting hog wild over it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I don't know. I didn't see nothing. Who knows anything? What is truth?
I've never spoken to a cop in my life. I don't know.
It's so good. The kids are selling merch, which is definitely, listen, if you're doing live shows, you gotta sell merch, y'all.
Gotta sell merch.
Gotta sell merch. And Chip is now wearing a Kangol hat. And
I know, right? And it's like a little ponytail.
He's selling TV deals. He's got Suzanne Summers signed on to play Beverly Sutphin.
Yes.
That's a short amount of time to have all of this done. Like, good on him.
Yeah.
Yep. There's his brother, Chip's brother shows up to fight him.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, have you sold your rights yet? He's like, wait, I didn't know. Tell me about that. He's like, I mean, we could talk about who could play your brother. Oh, what about Jason Priestley? So 90s.
Yeah.
So 90s.
But everything kind of culminates with Suzanne Summers playing herself.
Yep.
Wearing a bedazzled t-shirt that says Beverly Hills on it, and sunglasses and a fur.
I'll admit, I don't have a lot of frame of reference for Suzanne Summers, so I'm just like, okay, this is a hot blonde lady that I assume is a real person in Hollywood, and that makes sense.
Well, it's like even the judge is like, I loved you on Three's Company. Like it was, back in the days of you only have 3 channels. And if you were, a hot TV star, then chances were at least a third of America knew who like there was only so many options.
Yeah.
So
it's really
for someone
wild
to be that famous and that, especially like the TV, which, movies are on a big screen, but the TV, you welcome these people into your homes.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She, R.I.P. Suzanne Summers recently left us. She, it's interesting, like this notion of celebrity, because even as somebody who knows who Suzanne Summers is, she was not the most famous person by far. Like, like kind of not even close. Like you would have not really thought of her as an A-lister, especially in 94. Although she maintained, sort of like George Foreman, she maintained a popularity well beyond her actual activity as in the public eye.
With the Thigh Master.
The Thigh Master.
Which is exactly what Kathleen Turner does.
Oh, you're
like,
right.
She's doing the Thigh Master move under the thing to get the guy.
That's crazy. I love that.
So good. So that's obviously like a huge distraction for everyone. Detective Pike is on the stand, so we've got the other cop now, and Detective Pike just sees Suzanne Summers and starts making eyes at her. So now the whole thing is fucking done. So it comes down to the jury says not guilty.
No, wait, this is a weird thing.
Yeah.
So the lead juror is actually an actress named Nancy Robinette, who I did a year of Shakespeare with in Washington, D.C.
Whoa.
And I had forgotten she was in this film. So like, it's so weird watching someone say, we find the defendant not guilty. And like deep in the recesses from like 23-year-old me, I've seen this woman play like some of the greats of Shakespeare. But here to see her in this John Waters film. And then later she does like, a Scream Queen scream when they find, Patty Hearst dead. Like it took me a minute, but like time and space just sort of shifted in my brain because I was like, how do I, oh my God, I actually know this lady.
That's really funny.
That's so interesting. Oh my gosh. What a coincidence.
And she's an amazing actor, by the way.
I don't
amazing.
So
it takes them 2 days to return with a verdict. And I was trying to decide, I'm like, is that long or short given the trial that we just saw?
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
I think the rule is basically like if you're the defendant, you are a short return by the jury is usually bad news. So 2 days to make a verdict probably makes some sense.
Okay, cool.
And also 2 days later, after the trial finishes, before the verdict comes down, when they come back in, it makes Beverly even more angry that juror number 8 is wearing white shoes again.
I know,
and it's
again.
after
Girl.
Labor Day, but she's not guilty. She's coming home. She's in the media scrum, and she sees that fucking juror, and she follows. She's like, "Hang on, I'm gonna go powder my nose," or
I
whatever
know,
she
right?
says. And this juror is on the payphone telling her friend, like, "Yeah, she's not guilty. I totally don't think she did it. She was great." Excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, this juror is totally on her side, and she says,
Yeah.
"You're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day." Well, that's not true anymore. Actually, it's fashion has changed.
Fashion has
Wow.
changed.
Fashion has changed.
No, it hasn't. Iconic.
I also really like, and I'm trying to remember if the order is correct. She hits her, and then she's like, "No, fashion has changed," and then it's the murder
Yeah,
shot.
Yes.
I'm like, that's so, again, such great final last words for a lot of these people.
Yes. Yes.
And then back out, with the family. The
And with
family's all
Suzanne
nervous.
Summers.
Oh, and
I
Mhm.
love
Suzanne
it because
Summers.
Suzanne Summers just keeps trying to get her to be on the other side, because like when your photo is in the newspaper, it's listed from left to right. So whoever's the bigger celebrity, this is like a Bette Davis, Joan Crawford thing of like whoever sits on the far right, camera left, whatever, is like that's the biggest star because your name will be first.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it that's what like Serial Mom, she's like, no,
Suzanne Summers.
I will play second banana to none.
And also the fact that she's like, "That's my bad side."
Yes.
And that's the final line of the movie. It's just like,
so
"That's my
good.
bad side."
As Nancy Robinette screams and they discover Patty Hearst dead.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Shall we rate this film, y'all?
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
All right. So, how approachable is this movie if you are averse to watching horror films? I'll give you a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being like, yeah, don't watch this at all, and 10 being you're fine. It's super approachable. Like, I'd give Serial Mom like 9 out of 10 Betty Page pinups. Like,
Mhm.
it's bloody, but it hits all the beats of a slasher film. But it's entirely a comedy. It's fun. It's not scary. It's funny. It's satire. I would just say, like, it's just gross, but like in a way that like delights in the grossness.
Mhm.
But there's, so that like the liver on a stick thing is
Yeah.
disgusting,
Mhm. But funny.
also very funny.
Mhm.
So I don't know, 9 out of 10. I think it's super approachable for the horror averse. Cecil, what about you as a horror film?
Ooh, is horror films, this one's got to be way up there because it's like it literally talks about a love of horror films in the film. Like you said, it has all the slasher beats.
Yeah.
It just subverts them and makes them funny because it's so goddamn delightful.
It's like Julia said, it feels like a precursor to Scream.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's self-aware to the point of being, it even like, I mean, out of touch with reality, but also strangely in touch with reality.
Mhm.
Like this movie makes no sense if you think about it logically at all. But most horror movies don't. So for that reason, yeah, 9 out of 10 birding books
Filled with pictures of
filled
Ted
with Charles
Gein or
Manson
whoever,
pictures.
Charles Manson. Yeah. Julia, what about you? Would you like to rate this on any type of scale whatsoever?
I think I'm just gonna do enjoyability.
Yeah.
Because again, like this was a movie, like I said, we could have watched something that I had seen before and like I was rewatching, but this was a new to me film. So I wanted to like sit down and be like, I hope this is one that I'm actually gonna enjoy. And I 100% did. So I give it like easily like an 8.5 and 9. Like it's genuinely something that I have my 48-hour rental. I might get my husband to watch it with me tonight as well. So
Nice.
it was very, very fun and I was delighted by it. And I was a little concerned. I was like, oh, is it going to be like a product of its time? Is it going to like not have aged well? And like there are some moments, but in the most part, really, really enjoyable.
That's so good to hear too, especially when a movie like falls out of like your temporal wheelhouse.
Yeah.
That it all sort of makes sense. All right, great. Well, let's figure out what movie we're going to watch next. Cecil, you have a scare die. I have a style die. We'll roll these two up And whatever two things we roll, we'll match them up, see what movie fits that criteria. So, Cecil, on your scare die, if you roll a 1, our next movie has to have a scare of ghost. 2, monster. 3, dolls and or clowns. 4, zombie, classic. 5, animals. And 6 are wild card, whatever scare we want. So what do you got?
That's a 3.
We're going to do dolls and or clowns.
Oh, my
Ooh,
biggest
yes.
fear.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to match your dolls and or clowns with whatever style I roll. So if I roll a 1, our next movie has to be a Latin American film. 2, something before 1950. 3, a sequel, prequel, or remake. I don't think we'll be able to match dolls and clowns to that. 4, a rural horror. 5, a psychological, maybe bloodless horror. 6, prestige horror. All right, so let's see what we have in style. Let's go off the table. It's on the floor. That's a 1. Latin American. Dolls and or clowns.
Okay.
This might be a short conversation because I think we have
1.
I have 1 on our list. And we also use sorry, let me start that over. We also use Letterboxd. And so if y'all want to follow us at Random Horror 9 on Letterboxd, you can see all of the lists of possible movies that would make this, and you can help contribute to that. So the movie I put on here is called Vacations of Terror.
Oh my God. I am just looking at the cover art for this for the first time, and it looks pretty unbelievable.
It is a Mexican film from 1989. An evil witch gets burned at the stake, but not before vowing to return and get her revenge. 100 years later, a family arrive at their vacation home, and where the witch was killed, and trouble ensues when little girl daughter Gabby finds an ugly doll that's possessed by the lethal spirit of the malevolent witch.
Y'all, I think we found it.
I think it's pretty solid. I mean, we'll have to go through Tubi to watch this thing, but
dear God, not Tubi. No, not Tubi.
Anything but Tubi. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so Brave Crab on Letterboxd gives us The Last Circus from 2010.
Okay.
This is, I think the problem with this is Spanish language, but I believe this is a Spanish film.
Okay, from
so
Spain.
This is a circus horror, so we've definitely got clowns. It looks pretty baller. Ganymede's Cup gives us Diabolical Inheritance, a Mexican horror movie by Alfredo Salazar. A diabolical clown doll murders people that are cruel to him. These are some of one of the things that we run into with Latin American films is the availability of them.
Yeah.
European films tend to make their way to America more easily than like Mexican, Brazilian, Argentinian films, etc.
Oh yeah, I don't know if this one is.
I do not find it anywhere. This is a problem. One of the other horror movie podcasts, Cranor, which we've had the hosts on this show before, they cover only Latin American films, and so yeah, they struggle with this all the time of finding these availability. Okay, so we also have a movie on here called Massacre County. It's Brazilian. Milo Hu gives us this. After a hideous crime in a mansion by the forest, a group of young people was found murdered. A suspicious clown.
Oh no.
That's redundant.
Oh, no.
A suspicious clown
clowns
tries to prove his innocence to the investigator that found him covered in blood.
Wow.
I'm sorry, sir. I don't know that you're going to be able to do that. I think we have our killer.
I think you might be the murderer. Sorry, bud. Oh my God, that's a creepy clown. I don't like that. I was watched it too early as a kid person.
Yeah.
So and I loved Tim Curry, but
imprinted with clown fear.
Yeah, but 4-year-old Julia seeing like the balloons pop full of blood was not a good time for me.
No.
So that has persisted.
And they're eating like dumplings with like little eyeballs and fetuses in them and shit.
The practical effects now as an adult, very enjoyable, but as a child, not great.
Benjamin Montague says Santa Sangre would work.
I don't know if I've ever seen this.
This is Jodorowsky, isn't it?
Jodorowsky, yeah.
Yeah, Jodorowsky. Who's Chilean or Argentinian? I think
Chilean?
Argentinian.
I don't know.
Chilean, sure. So, Santa Sangre is one. Yeah, it makes sense. This is circus, right? So we're gonna have clowns in it.
Yeah, sure.
Probably.
Because circus performers. I don't think the clowns are the scare in it. I think Mom is the scare in this movie. I haven't seen it, but I think I sort of know.
Yes, I see clowns in screenshots, but I don't think that they are the focus of the film.
Finally, we have Island of the Dolls from 2018 that Milo Hu gives us as well. This looks
crazy.
Okay.
Because apparently there is an actual Island of the Dolls
this is a real
Mexico. Thing. Yeah. So 1957, murders take place on the infamous Island of the Dolls in Mexico. British journalist decides to take an assignment there and uncover the truth. And I'm guessing it's going to be super campy and weird.
Okay, great.
That looks fun. That looks like a fun time.
This is a Mexican, Ecuadorian, and UK co-production. So that definitely fits. So we've got Island of the Dolls.
Yeah.
We've got, the very first one we named, which is Vacations of Terror, which is the evil witch returning to the scary doll. We've got a couple that sound interesting, but I don't think are available, like Diabolical Inheritance and Massacre County.
Yeah.
And we've got Santa Sangre, which is possibly usable. Although Santa Sangre, maybe not the clowns or dolls being the scare.
Yeah, like Santa Sangre sounds, it's very like highbrow art film.
Yes.
Versus something like Vacations of Terror. After watching this John Waters homage to things like Blood Feast, I feel like Vacations of Terror is like 1989 campy. Like there's a witch inhabiting a doll. Come on.
We got several sequels, so you know that like they were investing in that as a franchise. And both of them are like, I think Vacations of Terror is, and this is always a selling point for me, so close to a tight 90. And then your Islands of Dolls is 1 hour and 18 minutes, which I'm like, that's like, I'm done. And like, that's a meal for me.
In, out, done. Yeah.
Yeah, both these sound great. Island of the Dolls is a 2018 film taking place in the 50s.
Okay.
So Island of the Dolls is going to be a lot, maybe more CGI, maybe a little bit more contemporary, darker, probably less campy and a lot more horror-y.
Yeah, because we just don't make campy things anymore.
I know. We're too self-aware. All the camp is deliberate now, which is fine.
Yes.
I like a good M. Thregan movie.
Yeah, I know, right? Or Lady Gaga on American Horror Story.
Sure. Yeah. Cecil, what do you think? And also, Julia, where would you go? We like to put a lot of stock in what our guest suggests we do between Island of the Dolls and Vacations of Terror.
Vacations of Terror just seems more fun to me. I do like the fact that Islands of Dolls is based on a real place.
I know, that's really interesting.
I've seen like a lot of like, my husband really likes Ghost Adventures. I want to fight Zach Bagans in a parking lot somewhere, but they've definitely done an episode on the Islands of Dolls before. And I have the image in my mind of it being very creepy, but I also just love a witch coming back as a doll. That's so classic. Yeah. It's so good.
Well, shit, let's do Vacations of Terror. What do we say?
Sure, why not?
Okay, great.
I'm just glad you guys aren't doing clowns, so I'll be happy.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for listening, and thank you, Cecil, for talking with me, and thank you, fantastic guest, Julia Schifini. Julia, where can people find you and your work in this world?
I am on almost all social media with my name, just Julia Schifini. You can find it in the description of this podcast, I'm sure. And you can check out 2 of my podcasts are part of the Multitude Collective, which is all about inspiring creators to create independently and create a bunch of resources for people like that. But Join the Party is a actual play podcast in which I am a player on, and it's a very fun. We do a bunch of different genres per campaign. It's a great time. We're currently doing a campaign which is a pirate campaign set in a world of plant and bug people. It's very like kind of Redwall meets One Piece. It's a great time. And then, as you mentioned before, I am the co-host of Spirits, which is a boozy dive into mythology, legends, and folklore, and we love spooky things. So if you're listening to this podcast and you love spooky things, that might be the podcast for you.
Trying to remember, y'all did something. It was fairly recently in the last month or two on it's the British tale of like Lady Green Teeth or whatever.
That was in our Boogeyman Roundup episode.
Okay, that's right. That was it.
Nellie Green Teeth, who drowns kids for getting too close to ponds, but also if you don't brush your teeth.
Green Teeth.
Nellie Green Teeth.
That is the most British scary story ever.
She's great.
Well, if y'all have thoughts on what movie did we just watch? If y'all have thoughts on Serial Mom or ideas for movies that would have been good Latin American horror films with dolls and or clowns, let us know on Instagram at randomhorror9 or on our Patreon where we have public discussion threads for each episode. You don't have to be a paying member to participate in those. And watch Vacations of Terror from 1989 with us this week, and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no one saying the brown word at dinner or nothing. Boo.
Boo.